Here we go.
Here we are again, in the back corner.
Back with the dozens.
And the dozens.
Amazing. I love it. Did it start at 12, really?
No.
No.
I don't think we were ever beneath 24
Yeah.
listeners.
So we were always dozens.
We were always dozens.
Never a dozen.
Never a dozen.
Dozens
No.
and dozens would require 48.
It's probably around dozens and dozens on episode 1.
I would guess, yeah. Yeah. There we go.
But we're definitely dozens of dozens.
Dozens of dozens.
Now.
Dozens and
Yeah.
dozens.
Yeah.
That's
So-
probably about it, though.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not endless dozens.
I don't know. There's a couple thousand.
Like Rogan's not nervous.
No.
He's not. The rest of his history boys aren't going, man, they're breathing down our throat on these charts.
Totally. But we were in the top 1 percentile, I think, on Spotify last year.
Yeah.
Hey, that's good.
So-
That's great.
For listen time?
Probably.
Yeah.
It's probably
It's the upside of the
2 hours.
2-hour
Yeah.
podcast. Yeah.
minutes listened. But
Love it.
Yeah, we're glad to be back in the back corner. Want to jump right in and welcome our guest today. Let me give an intro to my friend today in the back corner, Pete Stubbs, former law enforcement officer with the RCMP, now serves as lead pastor at King's Church St. Stephen. He loves spending time alone in the woods with his chainsaw.
It's a true story.
We asked him to come spend a couple hours trapped with us with some microphones.
I kind of feel like I'm trapped. back
You are
here. I
trapped.
can't get
That
out.
is.
There's nowhere to
You're stuck.
Ladies and gentlemen, members of the dozens, please welcome back. No,
Just
for the
first
first
time.
time.
First time.
Well, I had you on my podcast like 5 years ago.
Yeah,
There we
well,
go.
I was
So
still
this
an
is-
officer.
Yeah, you were.
I was. I wasn't. an
Wow.
officer. Yeah.
Wow.
I suppose so. In any case, welcome to the back corner, Pete Stubbs.
Thank you.
I don't think I do it as good as you. You do the. You got the wrestling vibe.
I go
to it.
a little hard.
You're a little. What's that guy? What's the classic announcer on wrestling?
I can see him.
WWE guy.
There's a bunch of them.
No, like the legend, the guy that's
Let's get ready to rumble guy.
I mean,
no, that's
Buffer.
That's
Buffer, yeah, right.
Bruce Buffer.
Jimmy Buffett. Bruce Buffett.
No, well, I mean, there's Howard Finkel is the ring announcer
That's a deep dive
for the WWE.
No, who's the
classic.
famous guy? He's just there with everything. Anyway,
I mean, there's Mean Gene Okerlund from back in the day.
No.
Jim Ross.
Jim Ross. That's who
Yeah.
I was thinking of.
Jim
Yeah.
Ross is Harry.
Yeah,
You got
yeah.
that, like that cowboy.
And didn't he have like
Bell's palsy.
Bell's palsy. So
Yeah.
he kind of talked out of the corner of his lip.
Yeah, he's got a podcast.
Does he?
Grillin' JR. Because he also sells barbecue sauce.
That's apropos.
Yeah.
I like it. Got a couple sponsor today.
Yeah.
Our main sponsor.
Our official sponsor of this episode is the XY Conference. If you are a man, you should come to that conference. It's coming up in April, the something or other that I should know off the top of my head.
14th and 15th, I believe.
April 14th and 15th, or whatever weekend is closest there to, in Moncton,
Yes.
New Brunswick, at the Celebration Center.
I don't think they call it that anymore.
No?
I think they finally let that go.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Just at Title Church then, and it's going to be a good time. Pete, you go to XY every year. You bring a crew of guys from your church. Why should guys show up at XY?
Other than it's a job hazard you have to do.
Well, even before I was
yeah.
a pastor, I came to XY. I've never missed one. And I would say there's a couple things. One, there's just nothing like getting together with a group of guys. And to be honest, guys are hard to get together.
Yeah.
But to be in a room and worshiping with 1,000 men from Atlantic, Canada, there's just some crazy power in that.
Yep.
And then I would say the other thing is, man, lives get changed. Like we had one guy last year that literally like it changed his life.
Yeah.
And God just moves in powerful ways.
Yes.
And he became like, he's actually a police officer and he was a football player before that. And he's like, this is the first time that like outside of playing football, I've really felt like I was with a band of brothers.
Wow.
And so I think like XY just has that ability to bring men together and create a bond that is bigger than what we can do in our flesh. Like it's a spiritual bond that's created. So I encourage everyone to go.
You can tell this guy that we've got a former NFL player preaching this year. So Leon Scrump.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think he played for the Titans at one point. So yeah, anyway.
I assume that's a football team.
It is. Yeah, the Tennessee Titans. Anyway, I should
Tennessee
probably know.
Titans,
He
yes.
played in the NFL for a few years.
Very cool.
So yeah,
I think there's something God honors when we like. There's all kinds of fun wowzer dowser stuff we do at these conferences, but I think deeper than that, like there's something that God honors about us pulling time aside. Like there's just a discipline and a sacrifice to that, and whether you're talking camp meetings or pilgrimages or whatever else, right? Like that's an ancient spiritual practice to go, we're going to carve out a bunch of time and get somewhere else and focus in.
Yep.
And
You've already won getting there.
Yeah.
Like that. Like once those guys are there, it's already a win.
Yeah.
And then everything else that just happens is gravy.
Yeah. Beautiful stuff.
Getting
XY
there.
conference, come on out.
Yeah, you can register today. Go to the website and share. If you go to a different church and your pastor hasn't talked about it, put the bug in their ear, and we'd love to have a good representation from people across Atlantic Canada. I do think this is the largest Christian men's conference in the nation.
That is my understanding.
Yeah. There's a couple that are close. There's a couple that I'm preaching at one in Edmonton here in March that I think pushes about 1,000.
Yeah.
So, but
Speaking of
across
across the nation, shout out to some of our friends in Maine who also come.
Yeah, that's right.
We had 2 or 3 Maine churches there last year.
It's across the border.
Yeah.
It's in the
It's an international men's conference.
down there in the 11th province.
I was born in Maine, and whenever I tell people I was born in the States, like who from down in the States, they're like, "Oh, really? Where?" I go, "Maine," and they always give me this look like, "Oh." Kind of like that doesn't quite count.
That should be Canada. We all know it.
They're no.
I love Maine. So Maine is.
We actually have people from Calais that are part of the King's Church St. Stephen family too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And we did that on purpose. Like we definitely wanted to reach into that town for sure. So
shout out to the Maniacs.
I don't know. Maybe someday.
Come on out.
There'll be
It's wicked good.
King's Church Bangor or something.
There we go.
I don't know. Yeah. I can't get my head around the logistics of that and how
the
much
finances
more
of it would
complicated
be insanely complicated.
Yeah, I know. But
yeah.
Anyway, Maine has a near and dear place in my heart.
Maine is a giant Brita filter.
Really?
Like the geology of Maine is such that
like the trees and the waters, or what?
Yeah, like the groundwater, the way, I don't know all the details of it, but basically it's like one of the largest repositories of fresh water in the world because all the rain that falls there as it settles through the dirt gets purified. It's this whole like legendary thing. We lived in Bangor, and the city of Bangor, they have like this tap water award kind of a thing for like who's got the best, and Bangor always wins. And they were talking about
really,
Maine is it's a great place to get a drink of water.
If nothing else, you want a fresh glass.
I've
Head over to Maine.
Gone down fishing in the Grand Lake stream.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. And they have some great like landlocked salmon fishing down there. Actually, Jonathan's taken me down.
Okay.
Yeah, he goes very regularly and loves it. And it's quite the spot. It's beautiful. Tons of fresh water.
This is going to lose a bunch of listeners, but let's go there. You had a spectacular year of fishing last year. You caught some trophies.
Yeah.
It was just one of those years.
I've been salmon fishing, Atlantic salmon fishing my whole life, and caught the 2 biggest fish I've ever caught.
Yeah.
20 and a 25 pounder.
Yeah. And then you caught a striped bass about the size of me.
Yeah. That was towing our boat.
Yeah.
Legitimately towing our boat.
It was. Yeah. I have a little John boat, which was in my top 4 in the last episode. And Pete hooked. It was, I don't know how big.
I don't remember now.
I don't either. It was
Big.
It was this big.
Man,
keeps growing.
It actually was pulling, like he had it on the line. It was pulling my boat around.
That's wild.
It was crazy. It was. Anyway,
one of these days I got to try fishing bass. I've never fished bass.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Striped bass.
Stripers is fun.
It's a ton of fun. Yeah. It's
like
as fun as, well, it in some ways is more fun than salmon fishing because you catch a lot.
Yeah.
The salmon that's part of it's salmon hunting, really, is what you're doing.
I mean, I did 4 salmon trips this year and caught 2 fish, and they're both on the same trip.
Really good.
That's
really
a great year for me.
I did 4 salmon trips this year too and caught 0. So yeah, exactly. Oh, before we dive into Ron's research, I did bring some swag for you, my man.
Oh, awesome. There we go.
I know you like a good hoodie, especially a church merch hoodie.
Yep.
So
I'm wearing one right now.
There you go. Back corner edition. Ask me about the Nephilim.
I love it.
If anybody, someone will probably say, "What's the Nephilim?"
I'm gonna have to
I don't know.
explain that one.
You'll have to read Genesis 6 and
My boss is weird. And
he gave me it.
Yeah, exactly.
His phone number's this, right?
The Nephilim are this ancient race of people who gave out free hoodies, and so I'm repping them.
Yeah, let's fire up the teletype machine. See what we're researching. Ron, what are you wondering about today?
Just want to know your answers to the age-old question: Coke or Pepsi?
Oh,
it's
easy.
It's gonna be a quick one.
Simple one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty on the record pro Coke.
I mean, you came with your answer.
I've always got my Coke Zero. Yeah, that's my thing.
All right, easy. We'll hear it in the comments too. You can let us know what you want. What's your
Coke, Diet Coke. If I'm gonna do pop, it's Diet Coke.
Yeah, if I'm gonna do pop, it's gonna be Coke Zero. Yeah.
You prefer the diet over the zero?
I don't know if I can tell the difference. I don't drink enough of it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like one of those things. The more you drink of something, like example, Jonathan, he loves his coffee and he can tell the difference between each coffee. I'm like, it's just coffee to me.
Yeah, same. I don't know
So
the last
Coke, just Coke to me.
the last time I had a straight Coke.
Diet Coke isn't actually Coke though.
Oh, really?
Why?
No, it's is it Tab, I think? So when they were first trying to come out with diet stuff, like it's a totally different formulation, not just without the calories. That's why they came out with Coke Zero, because it's used all the same flavor ingredients as Coke, whereas Diet Coke is a different flavor profile.
Last time I really drank like just straight Coke would have been probably 7 years ago in Haiti.
Oh, dude,
And
nothing hits like a Haitian Coke.
Nothing hits like Haitian water, which is why I was drinking Coke.
Oh man,
instead. So
I was there several years ago, and the mission compound we were staying on, we come back after it's just ungodly hot there, just so hot, and you'd be sweating like a pig, and you come in and get in the glass bottle.
Yes.
Made with the cane sugar, not the high fructose corn syrup. You crack that bad boy open, and oh my word, it was
I drank Cokes all week. So
it was glorious.
Opposite of Bangor's glass of water. You do not want the glass of water in Port-au-Prince.
I was in Nicaragua once on a tour with Compassion Canada, and we were actually told if your stomach this is one of those moments where you're like, why do we drink this? If your stomach gets upset, they said drink a Coke and it'll kill the bacteria in your stomach, and it worked. It was a little unnerving to go like, I don't know if I want to drink something that kills things, but
well,
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, there you go. There you have it. Everyone was dying to know.
Thanks.
It's Coke around the table today. We have some stuff we definitely want to get into. We want to get into Pete's story, and it is cool. Now that you remind me, we haven't sat down in a podcast format since you've shifted into ministry, and that's worth
a
talking about.
Shift.
So we'll get to that in a few minutes. We wanted to talk. There's a few things we wanted to hit. Starting with some stuff that's in the news.
Yeah.
So cue us up, AJ.
So Pete, in your career in law enforcement, I'm sure there were times it was your job to spot fakes and call out frauds. There have been a couple of Christian ministry leaders in the news lately being called out as fakes and frauds. So let's talk about that. Sean Bowles is the first we'll talk about. He was a charismatic Christian leader and itinerant prophet. He was recently the subject of a nearly 6-hour-long expose by YouTuber and Bible teacher Mike Winger. In this video, Winger provides substantiating testimony and evidence for a number of long-standing allegations against Bowles that include using social media data mining to give people words of knowledge that seem to be incredibly insightful and accurate. There's a litany of people who suffered significantly beyond just feeling duped and following the instructions Bowles gave them as a part of his prophecies. The allegations also include significant sexual misconduct on the part of Bowles. Beyond the accusations against Bowles himself, it's also alleged that ministries Bowles worked with, most notably Bethel Church in Redding, California, were aware of these allegations for years and still regularly invited Bowles to serve in their ministry. This whole thing raises a lot of questions. First of all, though, what's your personal reaction to all of this?
I'm going to put like a big thumbnail on this episode saying, Sean Bowles exposed. Back corner reacts.
Here we go.
Pure clickbait.
Click it up.
That's my first reaction. I hate this.
Yeah.
Like I hate it on multiple levels. We'll talk about the Sean Bowles stuff and accountability for leaders, which I think is a topic we need to discuss. But it grieves me. There is a growing industry online with social media influencers and stuff that their whole shtick is being the one that the critic, the one who calls out, the one who's pointing out dirt. You know, I'm here to keep everybody in check.
Yeah.
That grieves me. I'm more grieved by the allegations too, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I just hate the environment that we're in right now with. Yeah, like that stuff gets commodified. That gets the clicks. Yeah. That like we all love gossip. Everyone's drawn towards it. Everyone wants the dirt, and so it's just to start off with. I hate that whole thing of just putting crap out on the internet out in the public forum for everybody to discuss and draw their own conclusions, and everybody's an armchair quarterback. It just, I hate that.
It feels like, it does feel, especially to me, like some of these people who do this, there seems to be a joy in it.
Yeah.
Like
even though, like, if you watched, I watched Mike Winger's most of his
I've watched
thing,
chunks of it.
and like over and over, he's like, I don't like doing this. I'm like, well, bro,
Yeah, you are
5 hours tells me otherwise.
Yeah,
Like,
but even then, like, I guess the other side of that, though, that you look at is you go, like, I don't like that there's people who seem to, that's their whole shtick. But at the same time, you kind of go, although if the people whose job it
Right.
was to call this stuff out were doing their job, like,
and
so
to be fair, that's his whole argument.
Right,
It's
and
like,
it
no
is-
one did this, so I'm going to do it.
and it is necessary.
It is.
Like, somebody's got to call it out.
But I think the thing that grieves me is not the calling out, which needs to happen.
Yeah.
It's the context in which it happens, and knowing the context. Just, you are planting a seed of critique in a garden that's optimized to multiply critique and cynicism.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
My thought is, like, anytime accountability is used to make money, there's a problem.
For sure.
So, like, I mean, what does he say his motive is in the 6 hours?
Over and over. I mean, he says his motive is to bring accountability to these leaders and to this stream of the church, which I do agree needs to happen, and I would like to talk about that. And he'll over and over say, I don't enjoy doing this. These videos aren't monetized. Okay, but all your other ones are. Mm-hmm. And if you get 3 million hits on this one, it's going to drive, the bottom line for you and for your life. Like, this is good for your business.
Yeah.
So
On the flip side, if he didn't have a platform, he wouldn't be able to do it.
totally. No, I get it. I mean, it's complicated. I don't think anybody's hands are clean in it. I think that's what grieves me about it, is like, and again, there's maybe an argument for Mike where it's like, yeah, I know all that, and I felt convicted to do it anyway, and I know how it looks. And I do think he has tried to mitigate some of the stuff, like the backlash against him on that very thing. Oh, you're monetizing this. This is good for your brand. This is, you're just a church troll. He is aware of that, and he does seem to go to lengths to try to push it away. But I don't think you can. Like, I think you're in it, man.
It does seem too like again, I don't know the guy. I don't know his heart. I don't even know his head fully. I've watched some of a couple of his videos.
I tend to agree with him on most everything.
Yeah, I don't think his critiques are invalid.
I don't either.
But when you, what am I trying to say here? Like, when he did the Sean Bowles one, now he's done, although I guess he's done some in the past, but now he's moved on to Todd White, which we'll talk about him too. Like, you start to see are you a Bible teacher who happened to have this information? Because that's his main shtick. He's a Bible teacher. And so you felt the need that no one was calling this guy out. Somebody needed to call. Now you got you got another guy you're doing. Like, is this going to become your new series, right? Like, every month you're dropping a new hours-long expose. Like, I maybe he just has a couple of these guys he feels he needs to call out, or now people see what he does and they're coming to him with evidence and that kind of stuff. But I'll be curious to see how many people he covers.
Yeah.
And
he says he's got more coming.
Yeah. Like, seems like it's kind of now become a bit more of I'm like, this is my new content that I do.
Yeah.
Isn't there a responsibility to, like, go to that person in private first?
I think he did.
Like,
I think he gave them a bunch of warning, like, hey, I don't want to do this, but if you guys don't do something about this, I'm going to post this. And
I think a lot of the people that he's posting, like, testimonials and stuff from, are people that did go either directly to the person or directly to whoever had oversight over them or whatever. Like,
I'll say, I think he's done it as clean as you could, but I think that's what I'm trying to say. It grieves me, is like, it's like Christians who get involved in politics. Like, there may be a reason to do that, but you're just going to get messy. Like, it's like, don't fight with the pig,
Yeah.
You know, because you're both going to get muddy and the pig loves it.
Yeah.
Like that's what you're getting into here. And I don't see any way. I think the collateral damage is almost going to be as much as the health that will come from this. Not as much. I do think this is a healthy thing, legitimately.
Yeah.
And should be talked about. But I would say, and as a pastor, I've had concerns over the last. It's really cranked up in the last year or two. Just like everybody, there's a lot of social media profiles out there that their whole thing is like, you know, I'm just here to correct. You know, like it's like Allie Beth Stuckey. Like there are women that Melissa Childress, like these girls that they literally every video they do is them watching some other Christian do something that they deem wrong.
Yeah.
And they take this posture of critique, and I don't think that's healthy.
Yeah.
And then you have this kind of perpetuating attitude going on in the church, and people are being discipled through critique. And I think there's just a better way to disciple people. So back to the algorithm forming.
And I think they're being discipled to be critical.
That's what I mean.
Right? Which is different. I mean, it's good to be discerning. It's good to not just believe everything you hear.
And I've been,
But to go, true disciple is one who sits in judgment over other people. I'm always frustrated with the people, again, like this, the bowl stuff is like massive, huge, terrible stuff.
Yes.
But the whole industry around, I'm going to watch this pastor's 30-minute sermon.
Yes.
And I'm going to find a 2-minute clip. I'm going to pull it out of context.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume the worst motives or intentions behind what he said. Not to mention the fact that, like, dude, you get up and talk about incredibly complex theological issues for, 30 or 40 minutes every Sunday.
Right.
New content every.
See if you're not going to say something dumb.
I remember once a guy, I was talking about the incarnation, and I said something to the effect of, the virgin gives birth to a son, and that son becomes Jesus. As in, that boy grows up to be the one we know as Jesus. What I meant.
He was always
right,
Jesus.
and he's like, you're denying the pre-existence of the second member of the Trinity. I'm like, dude, like I clarified that 6 other times in the sermon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
that attitude is so sick, man.
Yeah.
Like and it's so easy to get caught up in, and I'm just seeing it being multiplied, and I don't like where it's going. It's creating. I mean, it's very similar to the context that Jesus actually stepped into with like the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Like the whole attitude of the Jews at the time was we're policing each other. Yeah. We'll set you up for later, policeman. We're policing each other to make sure.
Policing is the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, we don't. No policemen. No, but that kind of policing attitude.
Yeah.
And man, Jesus hated that, and I do think there's a real dark side to that. It's a thin line.
There's
What's weird is like society loves it though,
totally
right? And so like we're feeding that.
Yeah.
And so like if they wouldn't do it if there was no market for it.
Absolutely.
Right?
There's
It's like so
Sorry, go ahead.
In society we seem to love to like point out everyone's wrongs and then we just jump on it.
there's a weird, like, again, there's not all these things are the same. Some stuff is, I do think, like this bowl stuff is a necessary, although unfortunate that this is how it had to happen. Like somebody else other than Mike Winger should have stepped in earlier.
Right.
But
and that's his whole take.
yeah. And I don't disagree. But there's that side of it where there's actual real stuff. And we've seen this with some other, Christian leaders in the past or whatever, that like they just were surrounded by yes men or people with their head in the sand. And it had to end up being a little bit more public in order for accountability to happen. But there's also this, like, again, like the theological nitpicking or the,
Yes.
like this guy's watch is a little nicer than I think it should be.
Yeah.
He's a horrible person or whatever, that becomes, I think, almost it's a Christian incarnation of cancel culture. And it's also particularly the minute theological, like I'm against heresy, but the minute theological nitpicks, or you didn't quite articulate this, as flawlessly as you would have if you were writing a book and you had hours to rehash that phrase or whatever. It becomes almost a version of salvation by theological precision.
Yeah.
That it's not enough that you believe in Jesus. You have to believe the exact same things I believe about Jesus, right down to the very, jot and tittle. And you have to flawlessly express those every time you open your mouth. And generally, the people who, in my observation at least, who make their bread doing that, whether they're just doing it for the clicks or whether they actually are making money off it, aren't people who have the experience of doing that. And so it's one of those, it's very armchair quarterbacky, right? It's very Monday morning.
It begs the question, like, what is it about, like, humanity and society today, and you throw in the internet and social media, like, when we watch these react videos, right? Like what is that just, we're so, like you said, we're so drawn to that kind of react video. Like what's actually going on behind the scenes here that's causing, so many of us to want to hear what, Mike Winger has to say about a 30-second clip of Kenneth Copeland doing something weird, which, granted, he's probably doing something weird, which needs to be talked about. I don't know, man. It just seems like if
you haven't figured out Kenneth Copeland does his weird stuff in public. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
What is there to expose there? He puts it right on TV every week.
But it's concerning where the internet's such a multiplier and a magnifier. And it's like Jesus said, judge not lest you be judged. Whatever you dish out, it's coming back. So I was watching that last Mike Winger thing. I'm like, dude, this is going to come back on you so hard at some point. Wow. Like you are creating a bunch of people who are going to now private investigate you.
Yeah.
And if you look close enough at somebody, you'll find something.
Yeah.
You'll find something worth, probably within law enforcement. Like if you wanted to find something to take somebody to task on, you could drum up something that's like, hey, that you sped through that crosswalk
right
in on March 20th, 1999. I'd like to talk to you about that, right? Like you can drum that stuff up, and I just think it's just going to compound judgment. It's just being created there.
I just wonder too, like let's take Sean Bowles as an example. Like in his heart, I don't think it didn't start with this. Right? Like all of us, like whatever is sexual assault allegations and combing through Facebook to add prophecy. But like the truth is, like he probably started off with a great heart and was working in ministry on a regular basis in like supporting people and supporting ministries. But like something happened and he like used it once. And then he's like, you know what? This worked really well. And people around him probably saw that and encouraged him. And it just grows.
Every pastor who fails and every human who fails, like you don't just start out at the crash. I mean, there's usually a series of events and compromises that go into that. That does bring up a couple conversations. Like I would like to talk about, a big part of me as a pastor. I mean, I'm usually looking at this stuff through the lens of a pastor and like how is this affecting the people that I serve? And I have for a long time. Like I've had concerns about Sean Bowles long before, the allegations of fake prophecies and sexual misconduct came out. Like I just theologically had some, I'm not sure about that. And I've been concerned for quite some time. So there's two sides to there's two extremes to the pendulum. There's an overcritical component for some people where we can just dismiss everything and just take this defensive, critical mode. There's also like a mechanism in a lot of people, though, where it's like you're too open to everything. Yeah. And you actually need a little more critique and judgment. Like you need to exercise better judgment. And so I am as disturbed oftentimes about the stuff that some of my Christian brothers and sisters do support or like on Facebook. Like you liked that video?
Yeah.
Of this guy saying something that's like pretty much blasphemy, and you don't realize the problem with that. Yeah. So I do think, man, and maybe it is just the magnifying effect of internet and social media, but I have been equally concerned with, some of the teaching, like some of the most famous, just because something is watched a lot and highly accessed does not mean it's quality or good. And there are a lot of famous preachers where that's like that's not actually good Bible teaching.
Yeah.
Like that's really not good.
I think people, part of the celebrity culture that is in our culture in general, but it's infected the church, and the authority by popularity
Yes.
culture, right? Like
That's good.
like when this is, and people, we do this. Oh man, it's a great book. It's a best-selling book. Well, the fact that a lot of people bought it doesn't actually make it a good book, right?
Right, yeah.
Or you got to see this movie. It like had a huge opening weekend at the box office. Like that doesn't actually mean it's good. Although, I mean, if you're talking just pure entertainment, that's a better indicator. But if you're talking about truth, it's not a popularity thing. And I think a lot of times people are looking for a person to be an authority for them so they can just take whatever they say and not have to do the work, right?
Yes.
And, we believe that authority, at least in the Protestant world, authority rests in the scriptures ultimately, right? I mean, in God himself ultimately, but through the scriptures. And that like need to develop critical thinking skills, discernment,
Yeah.
solid theological filters that you can run stuff through, and knowing the word of God well enough that you don't have to just go, well, this guy got a lot of likes, so he must be true. This guy pastors a big church, so it must be right. Or, this guy, this is the one that drives me. Like, this guy seems really spiritual and spiritually intense, and he like cried halfway through the sermon, so it's got to be true, right? It's like,
well, let's leapfrog off that, because that's one of the things I wanted to talk about in this. Like, so right now, the charismatic movement is getting the heat, and a lot of it's warranted. So you have, I mean, it goes back a couple of years, like Mike Bickle out of IHOP. That was, he got exposed with a bunch of sexual misconduct and using like his spiritual office and prophetic-y word type stuff to manipulate women. Like, it's just gross stuff.
yeah,
And there's a bit of a stream of connections within that vein of the church that are kind of all getting ousted at the moment. And I think a lot of it's necessary and needed, even though it grieves me.
yeah.
But there is something, to your point, about there's something in us, and probably even to the critic too, whether they'd realize it or not, they're doing it. There's something in us when we see somebody with spiritual power or charisma, we overassume their character, and we start to think, okay, that guy clearly hears God, and perhaps they do.
Yeah.
Or like maybe God has given them a spiritual gift, and like that guy, let's just be real. Not everybody who prays is the same good. Like my buddy Kirk, there's Kirk prayers and there's Brent prayers. Like this guy knows how to pray. He's gifted to discern and like to work with the Spirit. There's a real giftedness there, and it's a spiritual gift. I think the thing we get trapped in though in the church is sometimes we overassume, because a person has a high spiritual gift and they walk with a level of anointing and power, that automatically means that there's a level of holiness and character they have. And if you look through church history, that's just not the case. Yeah. Like, God has never not used a sinner except for Jesus. Everybody since then, God has, by his grace, used a broken vessel of some kind. And some of these vessels that God has used mightily are very broken. I mean, you start popping back through church history, you go back to the Jesus movement. Like the whole Jesus movement popped off through a guy named Lonnie Frisbee, right? Like, you look up Lonnie Frisbee's life. I mean, that guy died like a pretty bad death because of a whole secret life that he had going on. Like, and yet undeniably God used him to move the kingdom in the hearts of masses. So what do you do with that? And then you go back, keep going, I just did on our boys, The Rest is History podcast, did a 5-parter on Martin Luther.
That guy was a mess.
That guy was a mess. Yeah. And none of us are even here in this context, let alone like Western civilization doesn't even exist like it currently does, for better and worse.
Yeah.
Without Martin Luther. And undeniably, God used him. And yet, dude, when you pop the hood on his life, you're like, whoa, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I listened to you, right? Like, and so I think all that to say is a long way of saying, like, I think we get mesmerized by when God uses somebody, and we oversell the vessel and underappreciate the grace that's flowing through them. And so all that to say about the charismatic movement, I think that group gets a level of bandwidth and has had a level of bandwidth and leeway because of the power, like the undeniable power of God using a lot of those ministries in a lot of very powerful ways. It's kept people from saying, hey, are we sure that that's okay? Or is there anybody in your life that can tell you no? I guess who am I to say? Because God just healed somebody through you. So, hey,
I think, I don't know, I've got a few thoughts. One is, I mean, this is just echoing what you're saying there, Brent, but yeah, giftedness and maturity are not the same thing.
yes.
Intensity and maturity are not the
or
same
passion.
thing. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like there's these people who's like, oh, look how he's just so fired up and he's so like that can be faked.
Yeah.
And the truth is not everything that you see in those environments. I mean, Bowles is a great example. Like he's clearly gifted of God, or else how would he know?
Yeah. Like to Pete's point, he kind of got in there.
He knew by
through
data
legitimate
mining.
means. Yeah.
Well, no, but I mean, like it's just to say, like sometimes people think giftedness is not the same thing as maturity, but some people aren't actually gifted. Some of them are just good shysters.
I got you. Yeah.
Like some of them aren't doing anything you couldn't see at a good magic show.
I think legitimately Sean did have a spiritual gift there, but then he started
I don't know.
overinflating it.
I haven't paid enough attention to him. I guess I would just encourage people in the same way we're talking about with what people teach. Like just because somebody purports that something is, and I'm not saying be critical and don't believe in miracles and don't believe in the gifts of the Spirit, but like I've seen examples both in person and on film of, again, things that you just go like, dude, I studied magic, like illusion when I was a kid, and I can tell you how they do this. Right. Or like I know enough about the way mentalists and mind reader type, like just circus performer type people work to go like, that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like I know exactly how that works. I know the process. And so like, I don't even know if they always know that that's what they're doing. Like sometimes I think they're, we're just going to try to like, really get some faith, stirred up in people. And it's like, no, you're using the power of suggestion. Like that's actually what you're doing. I don't even know if they know that that's what they're doing at the time. But yeah, I guess the fact that somebody that God uses someone to do something miraculous doesn't mean they're a paragon of virtue, but also the fact that what they're doing purports to be miraculous doesn't even mean it's miraculous, right? So like, I just wish people would take a minute and think through those things.
Yeah, it may be not miraculous in the first place, but let's assume that it is.
Oh yeah, and it can be, and that doesn't mean the guy. I'm just saying, like, start with don't assume everything that anyone claims is a miracle actually is a miracle, and then don't assume that if God uses someone to actually do a legitimate miracle, that means that God is therefore saying you should trust this person explicitly, and anything they ever do for the rest of time will be okay. Like
right, and I think the good case study on that would be in like if you read both letters to the Corinthians.
Yeah.
Right? Like 1 Corinthians.
Super gifted, absolutely jacked
Paul
up.
like says, hey, clearly the Spirit of God has poured himself out on your community. Like there are signs and wonders and miracles, and you guys are walking in spiritual power. Awesome. Let's talk about the fact that you are all terrain wrecks.
Yeah.
And like the whole like second half of the letter is him correcting like basic Christian behavior. Hey, dude, don't sleep with your mother-in-law. Let's start there, right? Like step one, stop that.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you guys who are like in your worship services, you speak in tongues. Congratulations. Stop talking over each other. Bring order into the worship service. Like that's all in the book of Acts. And if you get into, I mean, I've been in many charismatic services where it's like there is no order.
Yep.
And it is a free for all. And again, I think there is a fine line there on, there's a reason that gets to this. There's a fine line on flowing with how the Spirit is moving and wanting to give that space. But then very quickly, the Spirit and the flesh are commingling, and it can get very fleshy in the guise of the Spirit, and it's, again, so that point I think is really important for people. Like you just because something is spiritual, just because something is passionate, just because something is big or well known, does not mean it's accurate or healthy.
Yeah.
You know?
And don't go pinning your hopes to anyone but Jesus.
That's the bigger thing in all this.
They're all going to let you down. Some bigger, some more spectacularly than others, right? But they're always going to let you down. I think one of the things that makes the charismatic church a little more susceptible to this, not saying it's unique to them, but
it just looks different in other contexts. I
well,
think.
but I do think I mean, we give people credibility for things that shouldn't give them credibility. Like in other movements, it's how great a leader they are, or how big an organization they built, or whatever.
Correct. Yeah.
But I think that and again, I would consider myself charismatic in the small c sense. Like I'm open to the gifts of the Spirit. I believe in the gifts of the Spirit, but there's a chasing of the gifts of the Spirit that often supersedes the emphasis on the fruit of the Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And so the question about whether someone is a great leader is how people feel in the services where they lead, not their actual character. I'm not saying their character is or isn't there. I'm just saying it's kind of that whole what gets measured gets done kind of thing, right? That I think if people see someone moving in amazing spiritual gifts, operating in gifts, whatever, then there's like well, clearly everything else must be checked off,
that's the
right?
assumption.
And you got to go, no, dude, like for someone to be, you look at the qualifications given for pastors in Timothy and Titus, like in nowhere does it ever mention how strong their spiritual gifts are, or even how it says use your gift, like fan into flame the gift God gave you. Yeah. But like none of those requirements are like, they have to be able to do healings, or they have to have words of knowledge, or, and so I think there's a chasing of the gifts of the Spirit versus the fruit of the Spirit thing that happens. And I do think there's a chasing of experience over the intensity of the experience people have that supersedes, again, some discernment around what is the source of that experience, or even supersedes who you're actually pursuing an experience with, right?
Right.
Like we pursue God, and sometimes weird stuff happens. Yeah. But I think sometimes it gets to like, no, I'm just going to pursue the weird stuff that happens, right?
I think I might have told this story before. Maybe when Dave O'Leary was on, but I went to like the ultra charismatic, it was the Super Bowl of charismatic conferences, right? Like, I mean, all like Todd White was there, Sean Bowles was there, the whole Bethel crew, like just all the household names, like the who's who, Randy Clark. And I was there and watching like just people getting, rocked with spiritual power. And I don't doubt the legitimacy of some of those encounters, but I went there like just God, if this is real, electrocute me, right? Like I wanted to get I want it all. I want to, like you say, get under the spout where the glory comes out, right? Yeah. Like, so I went right up to the altar. Like Heidi Baker, I think was the one that was doing the invitation, and like people were just getting falling over with the Spirit. And I'm standing there like this, just do it, Lord, knock me over. And people are falling next to me. Yeah. And I'm just standing there. Mm-hmm. And like, I'm not falling. And I wasn't trying not to, and I wasn't trying to. I was legitimately wide open. And I stood there for probably 20 minutes while ministry time happened, and nothing happened, right? And so I walked to the back of the conference center and sat down in the seat, and just like, it was like, Lord, I know you're real, and I know some of this stuff is real. Like, what's up? And I felt God say, like, if I did that to you, you'd spend a lifetime chasing experiences and not me, right? Don't chase the manifestations, don't chase the gifts, don't chase, like, it's just about me and you, right? And that was a big like, I'm glad for that moment. I have had times of just where I've been deeply touched and I felt it in my body. But I think that to your point, like we can really get in this cycle of chasing like manifestations and experiences and miracles. And like, if those things aren't happening, then your faith isn't legitimate, or your church isn't healthy. Like if there's not these huge manifestations, I think there is an argument. You want to see like all the fruit of the Spirit. You want to see the gifts released for sure. But it is a subtle deception of the enemy, I think, to get us focusing on that. And I think that's what Corinthians talks about, is like, you guys, like, great, congratulations on the spiritual gifts, but like, let's also talk about being good disciples, right? Like having good theology. Let me remind you what the actual gospel is. This is what 1 Corinthians 15 is all about. just so you know, this is what the gospel is, like it's these things, and you need to know that. I think that's to your point earlier, which is important. It's like Christians, you should benefit from, your preachers and teachers that you hear. Like they're there to help you get a grip on the gospel for yourself. And if all you're doing though is parroting stuff that you heard and not actually internalizing it and being able to explain the gospel, like you're setting yourself up for weakness. Your roots aren't really going deep enough into the truth that you say you believe. I think that's
one of the things that I see that's like kind of the root of some of this stuff too is like, as people of faith, we often find ourselves seeking his hand and we don't seek his face.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those things that people just go after what they can see or go after what they feel they need.
Or what you can do for me.
Yeah. Rather than just seeking him for who he is.
Yeah. I would say too, like if I go back to that moment at the back of that conference center, there was a real lordship encounter where it's like, God, I'm going to serve you whether you electrocute me or not. I'm in. I believe you. I believe this. I'm giving my life to you, whether you do the thing that I think you should do or not. Like you're God and you get to be God, and I'm going to be your boy. Like,
yeah.
I think there's an element almost of like adrenaline junkiness to that, or like just chasing a dopamine hit.
Well, Malin said on one of the podcasts a couple weeks ago, I love that, where he's like, I love going to your Protestant conferences. They're so uplifting and powerful. Because, but by day 2, I'm like, can we stop having to raise the bar every time we come together? Can we just do a liturgy and go home?
I think to what you were saying there too, Brent, about like people benefit from your. Again, you should have a pastor.
For sure.
Not an outsourced online Bible teacher. Like, I'm not saying don't learn from them, but like, if you want to grow, it happens relationally. So you get in community, have some people who are doing that. But I think too, like people think of their pastor, their preacher, like you are apprenticing to them. And the idea is you're supposed to become stronger and stronger and smarter and more theologically savvy, as opposed to I am outsourcing my theological biblical formation to them. So I have a guy who knows the Bible. It's like, no, you're supposed to be a guy who knows the Bible, right? I have a guy who knows theology. No, you're supposed to.
Big but subtle shift, right?
Yeah.
And you just said way better what I was trying to say is like a lot of the time you haven't done the work for yourself.
You're doing an apprenticeship. You have not hired an expert, right? And so if you're learning to be a carpenter, right? Like, yes, you have a guy who knows more than you, who's teaching you how to do that, but to the end of you developing those skills, like eventually you're going to want to be able to swing your own hammer.
Yeah.
Right. And
I think maybe the subtle difference is like, maybe there'd be a lot of people who are like, well, I can't spend, Brent, you get 25 hours of your work week to dive into this stuff. Yeah, for sure. And you don't have to be able to go maybe as deep into that stuff as I do. You don't have to know how something works to know that it works and that you can work it. Right. Sure. And I think that's the difference on like a lot of people will just let the pastor, he's building the house and I'm just gonna kind of watch him do that thing. And it's like, no, you're actually supposed to pick up the tools and get going.
And I think it's like, that's why you have a teacher. Like if you're learning a trade, the guy that's teaching you that trade didn't invent everything he's teaching you. He's passing on, like that's, where is it? Pass on to others, trustworthy people, what they can pass on, right? Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, maybe those of us who had the opportunity to go to school for, 4 or 5 or whatever years to study, and then have part of the blessing of our job is we do get hours and hours a week we can spend and study, you may never get even to that point, but you should be moving forward, right? Like if you've been in church for 10 years and you don't know you don't actually know the Bible for yourself any better than you did 10 years ago, or you don't have any clear theological framework, you just show up and cheer for the pastor while he says stuff and assume it's always all good. Like that's a failure to take responsibility for your own discipleship, right? You're a spectator.
There's one more little component on this conversation I would like to have sort of flesh out here, because the other thing that as I think about the needed critique that needed to go out to some of those leaders. I also want to commend Bethel on, like, they responded publicly last weekend.
Yeah.
And I thought, there's, again, the trolls are going to troll. I thought that was godly and humble. And they were just like, hey, we dropped the ball. We platformed this guy. We told you to trust him. We heard about these things. We distanced ourselves, but we never told anybody. And people got hurt because of that. Forgive us. I thought it was super genuine. I thought, what more could you ask for of, like, the point leaders of that movement? They got up and they said, we forgive us, and we need to do better. I thought that was great. So some of that stuff needed to happen. One of the things, though, that grieves me in all this as well is, because we live in this kind of time of hyper critique, very low trust in leadership and institution as well, right? Like, we all do it. I mean, we listen to government people or politicians talk, and we're like, like, what do you got going on? And what's your real motives? And, like, we're all on guard, and there's a reason for that. But that makes leadership leadership is already hard, and coming in with a deficit on trust that you didn't accrue, is extra challenging. And I think this brings up a topic worthy of conversation, like, for church and church leaders and people who go to church and follow leaders, is like, what is the balance between trust and honor of a leader? You, at some level, if this is going to work, you do have to submit and say, I'm just going to trust that you're keeping your crap together, and that I know you're a human being, but there should be a level of trust and honor, and I think people should be able to assume that I'm not out sleeping around. I don't have some drug habit that's being tucked over here. Like, I think people should be able to assume that and not have to constantly be wondering what you got cooking. And I every time stuff like this happens, the leader in me goes, man, like, now more and more people are going to assume that I'm combing Facebook and I'm doing sexual misconduct, and that, like, it creates this, again, this pattern of assumption. And let's be real, the guys like John Simons and the guys like who started, like Rick Warren, and people who have done decades of ministry and stayed faithful to the church, faithful to their wife. They haven't done any major scandals and blowups. That happens all the time. It's just we don't hear about them, and it's never in the news. And I think there's a part of me that just is really grieved by, man, it just makes the environment in which we lead even harder. And then in some ways, I'm thankful for the accountability of it, where it's like, yeah, I got to keep my nose clean, man. I got to, like, there's a lot riding on this, and when pastors have a failure like that, it hurts so many people. So I'm thankful for it in that regard, but it does make leading harder, because you now are dealing with the baggage of distrust that people have that you didn't give them. Like, I've given nobody at King's any reason to think that I'm going on Facebook and finding out background information about you. So I don't do public prophetic words anyway.
Yeah.
But does that make sense? So, like, I guess the question, totally. I'm rambling a little bit. The question I have is, what's the difference, or what's that line between you should honor your leaders and trust them? We don't want to create a space where there's, like, elitism. I think that's garbage in the church. I think the highest leader is the first loser, honestly. And yet there also is biblical precedent for, like, you take an Acts where the church is blowing up, and the Hellenistic widows, right, are getting, they're not being treated fairly. And the Christians come to the apostles and are like, look, the apostles say this, quote, "It's not right for us to be serving tables."
Yeah.
Whoa. Somebody thinks they're a big deal. And they're like, no, we need to devote ourselves to the teaching of the word and prayer.
Yeah.
Like, that's our call. And so we're going to raise up other people to do it. So you could look at that, though, and say, are you too good to serve tables? No, like, it's biblical precedent. Like, if you want me to be able to be the one that's teaching and preaching and leading with vision, then there's stuff that I'm just not going to have the margin to do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, to that, I think that's a stewardship thing. And the reason that the apostles should devote themselves to teaching and prayer is not because they were better than other people,
correct,
like just of higher value, but just they're the ones who'd studied directly under Jesus, right? So it's like, do you want some Yahoo? Like who is going to teach the people who teach if we're out here waiting on tables,
Yeah.
right? And so I do think there is, everything has value. There's a place for everyone in the body, but the idea that everyone, when I say can make the same contribution, I don't even mean of the same value, but of the same nature. Like some people, there's just a unique nature to the contribution they can make, right?
everyone shouldn't sing.
No. And so the whole beauty of the body is that there is somebody to do everything and there's something for everyone to do, but there are people that either aren't gifted at something or, I mean, the apostles could wait on tables. They had the requisite skill set.
Yeah.
But there was something they could do that was a much narrower wedge. Like very few other people could do what they could do because of the training. They'd been with Jesus. That was their deal. That's what they were called to do. That's why Jesus picked them. Whereas a bunch of other people could wait on tables. So, it makes sense to pass that off.
So I just wondered, like the trust thing of like trusting a leader. I wonder, like the bigger your church, it's probably harder to trust that person. And
You're
the
more
reason-
disconnected
You're more
from them.
disconnected. Like in a small town, St. Stephen, 4,400 people, it's real hard for me to get away with anything.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
They all
But-
see you. They're around you.
Yeah, but you're in a big church in New York City, man, you get away with anything and no one would know. So like, I wonder if like smaller churches and like those that aren't necessarily on social media preaching the word and people following, like it's easier to trust in a small, but our society goes to, well, the biggest platform is the person I should trust. And there's like a balance in there somewhere.
Yeah, there might be pros and cons to both, right?
Yeah.
Like there's areas where, in a smaller context, it's typically not, a church of 8,000 that are all drinking Kool-Aid and expecting to go to, like, the UFOs are coming down to get us, right? It's usually a group of like 60 people. Yeah. So it's easier to maybe negatively influence a smaller group of people. So I think you see more instances of clergy abuse within a smaller pool, right? Like you actually need that proximity to be able to be in a room with somebody and say, "Hey, God told me you need to have my babies," right? Like that's like, so I guess sin can find its way into any context.
From a
all that
big
to say.
platform, you can manipulate people's emotions, but it's a lot harder to manipulate their behaviors.
Yes.
Because you don't have that proximity.
Yeah.
And I think there's a wider fallout when it's somebody with a big platform.
Totally.
But I think it can actually be a deeper platform when it's like, dude, this was my really good, like,
He was there at our graduation.
right. This guy gave me and my wife our pre-marriage counseling, and it turns out he was having an affair the whole time. Like that, I think there's a depth of hurt that comes. And even when you see with these big guys that blow up, like there's a bunch of people who are going to be, whatever, sad or disappointed or feel let down. Or there are some people that I've heard about, particularly with bowls, that like a woman who stayed in a super abusive marriage because he told her that was who she was supposed to marry or whatever. And like, but most of the people who, in the reports I've seen, that are deeply like wounded by this they were the staff. They were the people who worked really closely with these guys. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I do think there's a level of hurt capable or possible with close proximity to someone that is less so, I saw him at a conference 2 years ago, like, and it turns out he's a horrible guy. Like how much is that actually going to impact your day-to-day life versus, like he was my guy, he was my friend. But I do think in small towns, like there's a reason I think that a lot of I even think back to like Hybels and some of those kind of people, like there does seem to be an innate correlation, not necessarily causation, between travel and this stuff. Like a lot of these guys,
totally.
because I think to that your point, like you're in places where no one knows you.
Yep.
Yeah.
You've got a certain level of anonymity. And so to your thing, Brent, about people trusting you, I know in my experience as a pastor, one of the things that people in my my church always, like, they didn't need to know everything about me. They didn't feel like they had to be the one holding me accountable, but they loved to know that there were people. And I think even just that, like, people knowing, having some idea who the people are that, like, and not even like accountable as in like policing me, but just like, who are the people you pray with? Who are the people you're in community with? Who are the people, like, who's on the board that you answer to, like that kind of accountability, but also like, who are your prayer partners and that kind of thing. Just, okay, there are
Somebody
people. It
knows
does, right.
them.
It doesn't need to be me, but I need, like, somebody should know that. And I always took that, like, that wasn't just from a, you know, somebody's got to hold this guy's feet to the fire, but also like, he's a human. He needs help. He needs support. Right. And so I think, you know, we touched on this in our last episode, but like, it's not a bad thing for the people, for people to know that their pastor is human, to know that their pastor is fallible. But I think the healthier response to that is to pray for them, support them, encourage them to have, you know, people around them, to have community, to have supports, to have accountability, that kind of thing. And then kind of hope for the best, as opposed to, my job is to be cynical and to not, you know, to assume the worst.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's
Maybe a good way to look at it is, like, you know, in our nation, we have people who are police officers, and they're the ones that are tasked to keep the order, like law and order. Things go really sideways if the whole society think that they're the police, right? And that's where you know, you get into dictatorships and all that kind of stuff when the powers, you know, mobilize the populace to police one another. And I think, to your point, every church, the pastor they must have accountability. There has to be people, and there has to be people that can say no to them.
Yes.
People who can not just vouch for them, but correct them.
Yep.
Like, you know, there are people in my life that know everything, right? I don't want everybody knowing everything, and I don't want everybody to have a say in what I do with my time, but there has to be some people that can speak to where I was, what I do with my time, all that kind of stuff. And I think one thing that tends to happen when platforms get bigger and people get more powerful is there's just less and less people that can say no to you, right? And that I mean, power corrupts.
I think it's actually one of the things Kings does well too. Like, when I first started, my first meeting with you were like, okay, you need to get an accountability partner.
Yeah.
And so I have, and every 2 weeks I meet with that person, and they ask me all the hard questions, and will pray with me at the same time, support me, but are willing to ask those hard questions that a lot of people are unwilling to.
So you have relational accountability as just Pete.
Yeah.
And then you have organizational accountability as Pastor Pete. Like, you're accountable to me, and I'm accountable to our board, right? Like, I can't just do whatever I want whenever I want. Like, there are these structures in place. And I think if you're at a church where those structures, and there are a lot of churches, and a lot of them are in the charismatic vein, where it gets real muddy on, like, who gets to say no.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys just have, you know, carte blanche, and then you get guys getting up saying, I need one more $1 million check so we can get a second Learjet, you know, like that kind of stuff. That's how it happens.
I think in those, there's a natural tendency leaders have to, with the people you bring around you. There's this delicate balance of you want people who get your vision. You want people who see what you see. You want people who are kind of all pulling in the same direction. But if you're not careful, that can drift over into just, I want yes men.
Right.
And so I think too, like, again, it's not the guy's third month on the job that he starts pulling this stuff, right?
Yeah.
But over time, you can begin to, if you don't keep your ego in check, whoever seems to like you the most gets put into positions of authority, and your accountability is really more just your fan club.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, they either can't see that you're a mess,
Or they can't say.
right? Or what Winger here keeps calling it, this cover-up culture, right? Like they almost, I don't say they love you too much, but they love you in a very immature way, and think that it's their job to protect you, not from getting into trouble, but from the consequences of the trouble you've gotten yourself into. And that's an unhealthy an unhealthy thing. And that's why, again, there is, man, you can put safeguards in place, you can put guardrails, but at some point, like the leader does have to have a base level of self-awareness and integrity. And if you try hard enough, you can get yourself into trouble no matter what the system is. So like, man, build those supports for you. If you're involved in church leadership, like you're not the pastor, but you're on a board or something like that, like, encourage healthy systems and structures there. But yeah, you can't, at the end of the day, if a guy really decides to, like, I mean, back to the law enforcement thing, like there is such a thing as dirty cops, right? Yeah. And so it's like, these are the people who should know the best. These are the people who they're literally surrounded by cops all the time. Like, that's a high level of accountability, right? Mm-hmm. But and if you put your mind to it, you can find a way, right?
And there are people like that in every industry.
Oh, totally.
Correct,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Pastors are no different. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But that's my point being, like, there's nothing that, there is no guarantee against it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You can just be wise. And I do think that sometimes another mistake churches make is they approach accountability for their pastors, oversight for their pastors, whatever, from an authority perspective or a disciplinary perspective. Like, that's where it starts.
Yeah.
And man, nothing bums a pastor out than going, I have a team of critics,
right,
whose job it is to pick apart everything I do and assume the worst about me. I think if you approach it from a health perspective, like, we want this person, this pastor, to win in life and in ministry and in leading us. And in order to do that, like, his moral crap has to be together, and his relational crap has to be together, and his mental health has to be together, and his professional ways. Like, so we're holding him accountable, but to the end of him winning, not to the end of us just being here to find fault, or for us to just be the person we're not here to be the people he's scared to disappoint, but we do need to be close enough that if he's messing something up, we can come alongside with, whether that's support or sometimes it is correction. But yeah, I think, you can be dialed in and paying attention without having just a purely critical spirit.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be everything my pastor's ever said or done is perfect.
Yes.
Or he's terrible and we're going to catch him one of these days.
And I think, here's the final word on this. We'll put a bow. There's so much we could say, but I think one thing to keep in mind too is, there's a lot of collateral damage when a pastor who has been failing, it becomes public. But like, just know, like, if you have concerns about a pastor or a leader, like, at the end of the day, like, God's going to get justice, and like, he's like, your sins will find you out. And I think maybe there's a fear in some people where it's like, are there a bunch of pastors out there that are super, super shady and they're getting away with it? Maybe temporarily.
Yeah.
But, usually quite quickly that stuff just comes out. Like, you can't keep that double life going very long, especially in the spotlight of a pastoral ministry. It's just really hard, And so I would just say, pray for people in leadership. Have a critical eye. That's fine. Just don't have a critical spirit. And I think that's the
good word.
The thing I would say. So let's jump really quick. I mean, that was good. We needed to touch on that. So I'm glad we aired that out. I wanted to do processing.
Yeah.
But let's start with you and me, and then we'll end with Pete on what he's processing lately, and then we'll get into going back in his story. Does that work? Good. So
yeah.
What do you process? I don't have anything super spiritual, so
yeah, so I've been processing a lot. I'm a big fan of the Wesleyan quadrilateral for kind of arriving at solid theology. So scripture, tradition, reason, and experience. And obviously, like, we believe in tradition. Even people who think they only believe in the Bible believe in the authority of tradition, because that's what gave us the Bible, like capital T tradition. What the canon is tradition. But I've been trying to kind of wrap my head around what constitutes authoritative tradition. Like, what's the difference between some Christians back there believe that, and this is so like the Trinity, the that's tradition, right? Even a full articulation of Christology is tradition. You can see it in Scripture, but the way we articulate it comes. So yeah, just how far back does that go? What makes it up? Is there sort of a canon, so to speak, of tradition? Yeah, I've been doing a lot of digging into like early church history and early development of theology, and just trying to get my head around that stuff.
We probably over or undersell the value of it in the modern context.
I think a lot of times Protestants in general, evangelicals specifically, we think that like we forget the fact that the church didn't have the New Testament as canon for like 300 and some years, right? And there's things that we go, we
didn't widely have access to it for another 1,000 after that.
Yeah. But even like the key theologians hadn't agreed on what actually constituted scripture yet. And so we take things like the creeds, or we take things that, you go, like the Bible says this, 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 and this. And it's like, and so that's the Trinity. He's like, no, that's the Trinity is the doctrine we use to make sense of the fact that the Bible never, no point says there is one God eternally existent in three persons, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. They're of one essence, they're co-equal, but of three persons, like that's not in the Bible. That's
it is, but it's not explicit.
It's the clues are there, the data points are there, but the way we put them together and articulate them. So it's not unbiblical or extra biblical, but it's articulating something more fully than it's explicitly expressed anywhere in Scripture. Or even, the idea that Jesus is fully God and fully man. I think you can see that in Scripture, but the articulation of one person but with two natures, right? Like that, it's like that logically follows from what we see in Scripture, but there's no place where Paul goes. Remember Jesus, how he was, had two natures but was one person, and so like some of that stuff that is articulated more clearly and more concretely, that has been believed by pretty much all Christians through pretty much all time and pretty much all places. What all is that, and what are the parameters of that, and how does that work? Yeah.
Mine, it's more sort of a quasi, it would behoove you, but I'm thinking about the beauty of the brag table. And the brag table is something that John Acuff said, where it's your small group of friends that you can text or say or call and say, I had a win and I want to tell somebody. And like for me in my world, there's very few people that I can like share the things that excite me, where it's like, oh, I got asked to do this, or our church broke this barrier. It's like most people will be like, either A, they don't get it, or they don't appreciate it, or how hard that was, or the novelty of it, or B, they get like offended by it in such a way like, well, who do you think you are telling me you're bragging? Like, yes, I'm bragging, and I want you to love it with me, And so to have some friends that you can like you and I have a text thread with our friend AJ Plaisir, and like it's like one place I can put like just stupid churchy stuff that I find like that's a huge win. I'm excited about it, and I have literally like 4 people in my life that I can tell that will either A, get it, or B, just appreciate it with me. And I think everybody needs some people in their life that will get excited about the things that get you excited.
It's as much as we sometimes think people lack compassion or empathy or whatever else, it's actually a lot easier to find people who will mourn with those who mourn than it is who will rejoice with those who rejoice.
Totally.
Especially if what you're rejoicing over would seem to them as something bigger or better than what they have.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like if
because it cause all kinds of like jealousy, or feeling left
envy
out.
Triggers people's inadequacy, like their insecurity.
So it's an exclusive table, right? Like you can't have everybody at it, and it's a beautiful thing.
Like everyone will cheer for the baby that takes their first steps because we've all walked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good for you. You're doing it too. But when it's like, no, actually, I climbed Mount Everest. Like, okay, if I had that kind of money, I'd climb Mount Everest too. Or you know what I mean? We had Sherpas. It wasn't like you did it all by yourself.
I heard a quote from the recently publicly scorned Bill Johnson say one time. He goes, "Everyone loves the person who humbles himself before the Lord. They don't so love when He lifts them up." And it's anyway, I think he's onto something. So I like that. I like the brag table. Get yourself one. Get some buddies that will rejoice when you rejoice and get it. So what are you processing?
Right now, I'm processing the role of a dad in spiritual warfare over their kids.
No big deal.
No, I was just away at altars for the weekend, and the first night,
Altars is a conference that John Tyson and Church of the City, New York, put on annually.
for NYC and Sam Gibson.
Yeah.
And the first night, one of the things that just during worship was felt like to do spiritual warfare over your family. And when I did that, I was like just going at all my kids. And God highlighted like one of my kids to me specifically.
Wow.
Just my middle child. And it was like I actually had just like a remembrance of backing my car in my truck into the driveway and her deciding she was going to get down on the ground, and she thought it would be a kind of cool to hide behind me. And she said she was just joking after, but she's like, well, what would happen if you ran over me? And she's like, let's try it type deal. She's willing to try anything, this one. And so the next day I was actually just seeking God on this. And a guy came over to me who I didn't know, put his hand on my chest, and he's like, I just feel like God's highlighting one of your daughters to you.
Wow.
And would it be okay if I prayed for you about your daughter? And I'm like, absolutely. So we're standing there praying at the altar, and it's all done. And then as I just continued to pray, God showed me like a vision of me and Mackenzie just on her bed. And it was just simple, but I felt the Lord say, Mackenzie brings me joy.
Oh man. Wow.
And it was just enough to like wreck me.
I bet.
But at the same time, like there was the call that I felt God on my life is like, in order to get to Mackenzie, you got to go through me first.
Wow.
And so I'm processing that right now and what that actually looks like.
My goodness.
Yeah. But and like Mackenzie is my middle daughter, but she's the one that's like, she's stinking beautiful. All my girls are beautiful, but she's beautiful. She's also like, she had her first basketball game the other day and she gets player of the game. Like she's just a natural athlete. She's got muscles all over her body. Yeah. Like she's by far the best student in her class amongst my other kids. Like she has everything that the world loves. Mm-hmm. And so she does make me nervous. Because I'm like, I know God's got a plan for her life, but I know the world's going to have a lot to offer her. And so just doing spiritual warfare over my kids and what that actually looks like as a dad, and knowing that, you know, God has a plan for them, but at the same time, because God has a plan for them, there's going to be opposition, and just trying to be able to stand in for them.
Even the Lord showing you like his care for her actually supersedes yours.
Yeah.
So that's pretty relieving.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Like I see a lot of potential for problems here, God. Yeah, that's huge. Did the guy who came and put his hand on your chest, did he have his Facebook app open by any chance?
No, he didn't. He's actually a guy from his name was Matt or Mark. Sorry, Matt, but he's a pastor in Langley, BC. Actually.
Wow.
Yeah,
Mark. Eh?
Yeah,
Birch.
I couldn't even tell you his last name. Yeah, wow. He's a young adults pastor.
Okay,
but he actually brought like 11 other young adults with him,
all the way from BC.
That's
incredible,
which was pretty cool.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's one of many of the things that I'm processing right now.
Cool. Well, let's jump into a little bit of your story and stuff here, Pete. Give us kind of the kind of quick version of your story. How did you come to faith, and how did you wind up going from to law enforcement and from law enforcement into full-time ministry?
Sure. I'll try and do it quick.
Yeah.
And you can ask questions if you want more details on those things. But
we're here for the tangents.
All right. Sounds good. I grew up in a Christian family. At 7, I remember going forward and giving my heart to God. It was actually at Rich Wilkerson was preaching in Kingston, Ontario, and the Katina Boys. Senior. Yeah. I remember going forward, giving my heart to God, but I would say I didn't have like an encounter. It was just kind of like, I grew up in a Christian family, so it was what you were supposed to do. And then at 17, I had my first like real encounter. I was the kid who I was shy. I didn't want to go to kids' church. I wouldn't go. So I'd end up like just sleeping through service on my mom's lap or whatever. But then at 17, I felt the draw to like go and attend a youth group just to see what it was about. And the first night me and my brother went, we got wrecked.
Really?
Both of us. Like full out like charismatic wreck too.
Yeah.
Like, but so I'm the same as you. I've been to Pensacola when there was a revival.
Yeah.
I've been to Toronto when there's been a revival. I've been to altars twice. I'm never the one who's been on my back shaking on the floor or anything like that. And my brother is even like exponentially more that way than I am.
More reserved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that night's the only night I've ever seen him like literally down and shaking on the floor. Wow. It was wild. And it was another 17-year-old guy who was preaching that night.
Wow.
His name was Eduardo Baraki, actually. And he was from El Salvador, got radically saved, preached that night. And I mean, the youth group grew from probably like 30 people to 300.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that was my first real true like experience encounter with God. And shortly after that, within the next year, I can remember just being in a young adult service, and I was actually on my face, and the Lord just saying, like, it's not an audible voice, but I remember just like the vision of it and the internal processing of it, and the voice of the Holy Spirit calling me into ministry, and that was at 18. So
Wow.
18, I go and I'm already in my first year of business administration at college, and approached my parents about switching out and going to Bible college, and that was just not happening. Yeah. And it's funny, at the time I was upset, and I can probably get onto this later, but like now I'm actually thankful. I do think it was God's plan.
Really?
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know where I'd be now if I did go to Bible college at that point, but then turned 19 and still like live my life for God. But at 19, I remember going to the bar and having my first drink. A bunch of the guys at college wanted to take me out for my birthday, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And so I had a couple of drinks, and I learned that when I have alcohol in my system, that shyness goes away. And
Liquid courage,
man. And like, just before that, I had my first like sexual experience as well. And I knew I liked it, but I also knew I was shy. So I was never the one out in the dance floor. I was never actually going to pursue that because it was just super uncomfortable for me. It was just going to have to happen naturally. However, once I got some liquid courage in me, I was the guy in the middle of the dance floor, and it made it a lot easier to fulfill that like sexual desire as well.
I'm not encouraging you to drink, but I would love to see you dance.
Yeah.
Little running man out there.
Yeah. It's been a long time.
Grab the groceries, the lawnmower.
And the truth is, I'm sure it was super sloppy and ugly, but I actually feel like most women at a bar don't care. They're just happy someone was out there with them.
Everyone's perception and discernment goes through the floor.
Yeah.
It's liquid courage. It's also liquid bad judgment.
Yeah.
Sure is. Yeah.
So I was living in I was living in Oshawa, Ontario at this time. And so I just went back and finished schooling. I was not a good student. I just basically got through, never have been. But at the end of it, I had a co-op at the Royal York in Toronto. Mm-hmm. And you remember like the first round of COVID, SARS? Do you guys remember that? Yeah.
Swine flu?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
H1N1.
There we go.
SARS hit, and occupancy went from like 100% down to 20 in hotels. And so they were offering me a job, but then that obviously fell through. Mm-hmm. So they offered me a job in Lake Louise. So you want to go to the chateau and work out there for the summer? I was like, sounds good to me. So I jumped on a plane, went out there. And when I got out there, I was like, oh man, this is like college, except everyone has money.
Yeah.
And so it was wild. And so I enjoyed the first couple of weeks and quickly got sick of it, of like seeing people, doing cocaine off the bathroom, the counters in the bathroom, seeing like people just get hammered and like people just disappearing, like literally. And so I was like, I got to get out of here.
Like dying?
No, but like taking off on their motorcycle and you never see them again, type deal. Like literally, like I think it was the assistant manager of the hotel one night.
Just bailed.
Just bailed. No one knew where he went. He was like, I'm out.
On Dateline.
Yeah. It was the most wild atmosphere I've ever lived in. So I wanted to get out of there, and I saw that there was a job posted at the Delta in St. John.
Wow.
Yeah. And my grandparents lived in St. John, and so I made a couple phone calls. They happened to know someone who worked there, and next thing you know, I'm on an interview and got the job. Wow. So I ended up being not a great spot for a guy who's already living that world, but I ended up being in charge of like the bars and all the beverage for the hotel. And so I
didn't know about this whole hospitality career that you had.
I know.
That's an intriguing.
whole other
That's an
side.
intriguing transition to go from hospitality to
ministry
RCMP.
call.
Yeah.
Well, and there was like Home Depot was in there at one point. Discount Car and Truck Rentals was in there at one point. I've had a few jobs.
So you're at the Delta.
So I'm at the Delta, and I'm living with my grandparents. And one day I'm sitting at the table, and my grandmother pulls out, she had cut out of the newspaper, RCMP's recruiting. And so she sat it in front of me, and she's like, I cut it out actually because I didn't want you to see it, but now I really feel like I'm supposed to tell you.
Oh, wow.
And so she put it in front of me while I'm having the meal, and I saw there was an information night in Hampton. I was like, well, I'll go check it out. 16 months later, I was an RCMP officer from there. But there was a struggle while I was here. Like I was actually going to, I can't remember the name of it now because it's changed names to the Pentecostal church here in Quispam.
Waypoint.
Yeah. And so I remember meeting with the pastor, and like the first probably 6 months I was here, I really tried to get back to faith and live in life for Jesus. But it just, after 6 months, I fell back into the same things, going out and drinking. It's one of the things that I think, like every time you get yourself clean, for lack of a better word, and then you go back, it actually gets worse. Like,
Really?
Yeah, I think it actually, like, you take it to another level each time. And I think it's something that often we don't see, but like every time you go back, I feel like it just exasperates itself, and it gets harder and it gets worse. So
You're in the RCMP. You did a stint as I don't know if you're allowed to talk about it.
Sure.
The flight thing.
Yeah, so my career started, I went in Regina, and then I went to Halifax, and then I went to Toronto.
Oh, so you did Halifax before you did the air marshal stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Regina, again, I got out to depot, and I was like, anything hard in my life, I was like, I need the Lord. And I got out there, and when I was this guy, I literally wrote the test, passed, and they sent me out. I look at every guy in my troop, and they're like either done criminology in university or police foundations, and I'm like, I don't know the first thing about policing. And so I was like, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna turn to the Lord. So every morning I get up before everyone, read my Bible, and like wake everyone else up in the room. But then I met a girl out there, and that changed everything. And so my first post was Halifax. So I go to Halifax, and I was in Halifax for 4.5 years. Started in Tantallon, went to Lower Sackville, and then finished in Cole Harbour. And
They were ratcheting up the difficulty.
oh man, I tell you,
Levels to this.
there was, and honestly, Cole Harbour, like you couldn't pay me enough to go back and.
Oh no,
post
I
there.
lived in Cole Harbour,
Yeah,
man.
I'm like, that was terrible.
Yeah.
Tough town, eh?
Oh yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah.
But there were some things that happened while I was in Halifax that like later realized, man, they had a huge impact on my life, but I was young and I just
PTSD stuff.
Yeah. Like there was the one call that probably has the most major impact on my life was motor vehicle accident. I had known the kids that were in the vehicle. There was 5 that were high school age, and they were down at a party that night. We went and chatted with them, and we're like, listen, we understand that you're having a party. Make sure you don't drink and drive. At that point, no one was drinking.
Yeah.
Later on in the night, so let's say that's like 8 o'clock at midnight, I'm filling up my car with gas, and I see a carload of them at the gas station. One of them just ran in for smokes, and then they left. But I go back to the detachment, and within a couple minutes, I get a call of a motor vehicle accident. So I jump
Do
in.
you have something in your gut that you're like, it's them?
Yep.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Like a sixth sense
A
kind of
sixth
thing?
sense. I was like, man. Yeah. So I start going. Then they start telling me the vehicle information. I'm like, it is them. Then they start telling me the car's on fire. There's flames in the air. And I get there, and driver's laying in the middle of the road. Everyone else is still in the car. So I grabbed like a even younger recruit that was just happened to be in the office. I said, come with me. I said, take the fire extinguisher out and try and put the vehicle out. I'll attend to the drivers in the middle of the road. And so I attended to the driver. The paramedics came and took over. But while I'm attending to the driver, I'm like getting smoked with stuff. And I'm in my back, and I'm like, what is happening? But I'm just so focused. But like I turn around, and it's actually like parts of bodies and like
Getting
brain
burned
matter.
out.
Yeah. And so I walk over to my my buddy, and who had just tried to put out the fire, and he couldn't put it out with fire extinguisher. And as I'm walking over, I see this like pink phone, and it's ringing, and it's in the middle of the road, and it's ringing, saying it says "Mom." Oh. And I didn't pick up the phone. I'm like, I'm not in the right state of mind to answer this phone right now. But I did later find out that it was a young girl who was in the car, and it was her mom that was calling. And I had met her at the high school before. She was a great young girl, and and so that call, and just the smell of like burning flesh and everything that goes along with that, it just stays with you. And I just kind of moved on from that. I mean, there was a bunch of other calls in Halifax that had similar impacts. But I knew after 4.5 years of working like the street in general duty, I was like, I got to get out of here. And so one of the national priorities at the time was the Air Marshal program. It's actually Canadian Air Carrier Protection Program in Canada. Okay. Air Marshal really comes from the US, but it's a term everyone knows.
Yeah. Same job.
Thing, exact same job. So for 4.5 years, I was just flying around the world. Wow. Basically
making cover stories and
like I would travel like this. Yeah. And got to go like as far away as Australia. Yeah. Australia, was in Israel like 5 times, Korea, all over Europe, all over the US. And and like it's based on some of the stuff I'm not supposed to say a whole lot about the program, but it's all done on a threat matrix. So whatever information comes in through like CSIS, and then the destination, it all gets a score. And then so the highest risk flights, you're flying
like
around.
One that's going to like Afghanistan.
Or one that's got a guy on it that's flagged or whatever.
And exactly. So it's one of those things that, like the US has a no-fly list. Canada doesn't really. And so
just kind of look at theirs.
Essentially, but they can still fly in Canada.
Yeah, we have a do fly, but we'll send a guy with you list.
Exactly. Yeah. That's kind of the idea.
Wow.
But yeah, so I was just flying around the world for 4.5 years, and it was great. But at that point, so I had been dating a girl for a long time. We broke up. I actually just felt like she didn't have faith, and I was just like, it was time. Okay. And so I ended that relationship and immediately just ran to Jesus.
Wow.
And I had my brother and my parents were in Ontario at that time. So I went to a church that my brother was attending. And like that, I just remember that Sunday being like, Lord, my life's yours. I'm done. I am done running. Like I just won't anymore.
How old are you at this point?
I was probably like 28. It was about 10 years where I completely ran away. 28, 29.
Yep.
And I remember experiencing like, I felt like I was just like floating. Like I just felt like this release.
Like freedom.
Yeah. And like it's funny. Like I look at new Christians and I'm like, oh, I love what you're experiencing right now. But I'm like, in 6 months from now, it's going to probably be very different.
Yep.
And so like I had that experience where like, man, I could just put a worship song on. It didn't matter what temptation was coming my way. It was just done. It was like, no, the Lord is protecting me in this season. And it was great. And during that season, I actually, I just went to a church that my mom was at, and I had a bunch of buddies there from youth group, and I just sat with one of them, and I didn't realize that this happened, but I guess on the young men going to church where there's lots of women, it's like there's way more women at church than there is men typically. Yeah. So there was girls at the back, and one of them snapped a picture of me apparently, sent it to my buddy and said, "Who's this?" It happened to be Shauna. Oh. Yeah. And their response back to Shauna was, "You better be careful. He's an undercover police officer. He probably saw you take that picture." So we didn't even talk for like 6 months. I didn't even know any of that happened. Wow. But then Shauna and one of her friends were hanging out, and she's like, "I know this guy named Pete Stubbs. Think you'd be interested?" And showed a picture, and she's like, "No, that's the guy."
So heads up, if you're a stalker out there, just know it could turn out really well.
It could.
Frequently you wind up in prison, but every now and again.
Yeah.
I kid.
And Shauna would tell that story in a lot more detail, but that's the highlights of it. So somehow, and this girl named Andrea contacted me. Shauna and I started talking, and 6 months later we were engaged. 6 months later we were married.
Wow.
Both of us were just at the point in our lives where we were ready.
Yeah.
And both of us were living for God at the time. And so
you both came on your own journey to get to that point.
Yep. And the funny thing is, like, both Shauna and I lived very similar lives. Like we both spent that 10 years away from the Lord and then came back together.
Wow.
But then I was living in Toronto and I was like, you know what? This is not conducive to a family. If we want to have kids, like Sean was working shift work. I was away 5 nights in a row on a regular basis. So we'd see each other a couple times a month. And I'm like, this doesn't work. Yeah. So I put in a transfer, said I wanted to go to New Brunswick. Again, because it was a national priority, you can pick your province. So I put in New Brunswick and they sent me back like an email maybe like 3 months later and said, do you want to go to Keswick? And I'm like, I don't even know where Keswick is.
The Ridge, baby.
Yeah. So had a look and I said, yeah. And so I ended up in Keswick for a year and a half living in Fredericton. But that is, in that season is where, in hindsight, some of my PTSD really started, but I didn't know what it was at that point. So we moved there. And at this point, I'd been promoted once in Toronto. And so I was a shift supervisor, essentially, on the road here. And it'd been 4.5 years since I ever worked policing, like real policing.
Right.
Yeah.
And
when you were, I mean, if you can't discuss this, but did anything interesting ever happen while you were air marshaling?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple I can't talk about, but there's one that is just kind of silly but it did make my heart go. I was in Frankfurt one time. And like you're always traveling with other guys.
How does it work for you as a Canadian police officer? How do you have authority in these other countries?
Oh, it's a mess.
Yeah.
And so like even in training, they say, you know, wherever the airline is from, the home base, that like airplane is Canadian soil until it lands.
Okay.
Wow.
And once it takes off the ground, it's Canadian soil as well. But I remember them saying, like, when you get there, it's never been tested. Like say you had to kill someone on the plane.
Yeah.
We have no idea. Like, we'll sit our lawyers on it, but you might be in jail for a while.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Or just make sure you shoot him before it lands.
Well, that too, right? Yeah.
I was like that when we got here. I don't know.
Yeah, your authority's done.
Wow.
So I'm in Frankfurt, and we just got on the plane, closed the doors, so therefore we're back on Canadian soil.
Yeah.
And the flight attendant approaches me, and she's like, hey, there's the guy at the back that says there's someone else on the plane who's got a gun. And I'm like, oh.
Thump, 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 thump,
The
thump, thump,
heart
thump.
is pounding.
Oh, yeah.
And you're never supposed to like out yourself, tell anyone who you are either, right? So I'm like, but in that moment, I'm like, I need this guy to trust me. So I said, send him up front. I'll have a quick chat with him at like the mid galley and find out what's going on. And so he tells me that there is a guy that got on the plane. And when his jacket moved, he saw that he actually had a gun on him. And so I was like, I just looked down and I said, okay, this is what I do. This is who I am. It was actually great because he was German military. Okay. So he kind of, he understood.
Yep.
And I said, walk around the plane, tell me what seat.
That also increases the odds that what he saw was actually a gun.
It was actually a gun, totally, not just someone just thinking they saw it. And so I said, well, walk around the plane and let me know where he's sitting. And from there, I'll figure out how I'm going to deal with this. And so he walked around the plane and he's like, I don't remember the seat number, but he's like, he's in 9A. And that was where one of my partners was sitting.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, whew, deep breath. Oh, man. So,
did you have to tell your partner, dummy, hide your gun better?
I did.
What we learned today is I'm better at this than you.
I actually had to do like a whole situational report when you get back and explain everything because I did out myself in it too, right? And so,
so you're in Keswick. How do you get to St. Stephen?
So in Keswick, I was shift supervisor for like just a team of 5 guys or whatever. But then my sergeant went off sick, and I'm the new guy, but the superintendent decides I'm going to put Pete in that role. And so I've been back in policing, never policed in New Brunswick for like a couple months. And they're like, okay, you're in charge of the detachment now. Wow. And I'm like, okay. But what happened there is, so that we got there in November, December. When you're the detachment commander, you get a phone call anytime something happens. 24/7, you're on call, 365 days a year. So we're there over Christmas, and I get a call from one of our guys, from one of the corporals, and he's like, we're heading to a house right now. It started as a domestic. Lady took off running, and gunshots were shot out of the house at her as she was running away. There's 6 of us attending this call now. What do you want us to do? And I'm like, in that moment, I'm like, okay, so there's a guy in the house who's got a gun. I have to make the decision right now. Do I send my guys in after him, or do I say, let's do containment and let them shoot at other people and get the emergency response team. And I just felt the weight of the world on my shoulders. And in that moment is like what triggered me to spend the next 6 months. Like I was the guy, no matter what, no matter how I feel, I'm always going to show up at work. I'm always going to give you my 110%. It's just ingrained in me. But like on my days off, I didn't leave my couch. Like I literally sat on my couch, cried, read the word, worshiped, and prayed. Because those are the only things that made me feel good.
Wow.
Like outside of that, I felt terrible. I didn't want to leave my house. Shauna was working at the time, so when she'd have a day off, like I just didn't even get out of my pajamas, just laid on my couch.
Wow.
But I just pushed through it. I didn't get any help. I was just kind of like, you know what? I just don't like being in general duty. So I was like, how do I get out of this? But there was no real option to get out. And so I just moved through it for the next 6 months. And after those 6 months, I learned to function and do it in a somewhat healthy way. And because I did show up and worked my butt off, there was some promotions that came up, and there was one in Sussex and one in St. Stephen. I applied and got the St. Stephen position and transferred to St. Stephen to be the detachment commander there.
Wow.
And so, I mean, we're going to have you back because we're just beginning to scratch the surface. But like for people, so you get to St. Stephen at that point. You guys, when was the first baby? Like, was that not long after?
It
right?
was like maybe we moved there in July, and first baby was born in September.
Right. So just all kind of newly established there. And then you guys weren't long after that starting to come to Kings.
No. Yeah. So we were probably like a year after being in St. Stephen.
Yeah.
We just didn't feel like there was a place in St. Stephen that really felt like home to us. And so we drove 1 week to Kings of the Valley, and it was Love Week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That
It was
the
like
first
the
time
Love
you
Week
came?
celebration.
Yeah.
And Shauna was just like, I'm willing to make the drive.
It's for like several years. They drove their whole family 90 minutes.
4.5 years each way with 3 little ones by the end of it.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I had no idea about like all the backstory or anything, but we, and I don't know the first time I would have ever, you remember? Like I know I chatted with you multiple times and God had highlighted you to me, you know, over the years, just of like something on that guy. Like
It was, I can remember timeframes just based on what was happening in our lives. So like we had talked about having a coffee, but between both of our schedules, there was never an opportunity.
Right.
Like my life was crazy busy at this point. And, but I took some pat leave when Charlotte was born, and I reached out to you and I was like, hey, I'm coming to St. John. I'm going to be there for a few days.
we met at
You wanna
Java
go?"
Moose.
Java Moose.
Yeah, I
And
remember
it was like
now.
a 3-hour coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, a 3-hour coffee. And I don't think I even told you any of that stuff at that point. Nope.
You never indicated anything. I thought,
No.
you know, but I always had a sense that, yeah, there's like, I don't know why. It's just sometimes, but you probably had it too, where it's like that guy could do this,
Yep.
Yeah.
you know, and I think I might have planted the seed at some point.
Yeah, I think our second coffee, you just kind of like in passing, hey, would you ever think about being pastor?
Yeah.
And I was like, that's when I said, well, let me tell you, this
yeah.
is kind of where my life has gone.
Yeah. And it's pretty crazy to see, you know, the journey to what you're doing now, also in St. Stephen, where you were the head of the detachment there for
6 years.
6 years, yeah, and then to see that morph into, you know, this role as a pastor it's just a kind of a crazy story, honestly.
Yeah, it has been crazy. And the truth is, like, the first time you asked me and just said in passing, I went home and talked to Shauna, and Shauna just looked at me and she's like, not a chance. And I remember the quote because I just relived it so many times in my life. She's like, you work this hard for the RCMP. How hard are you going to work for God? And she's like, I never see you as it is.
Oh, man. What got her, what sort of started how did the Lord sort of work that in her? Because obviously you weren't going to do it if she's not behind it.
For sure. And to be honest, I don't know. So this is how it happened. We were here one Sunday morning and Adam Brewer was preaching. It was a message titled, What's Your Plan? Don't remember the 7 steps, but the third step was expect fear and learn to walk through it. And when he said that, it like God knocked me over the head.
Wow.
And was like, your time is now. And so on the drive home, I just looked at Shauna and I told her what had happened. And I said, what do you think? And instead of saying no, which she had said multiple times, she just looked at me and she's like, better have a conversation with Brent then.
Wow.
So she didn't give me a yes. She was just kind of like, okay, pursue it and let's see. That was a yes.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
Yeah, there's a chance. Yeah.
What would be, I mean, quickly here, but what would be some of the biggest parallels, like similarities between policing and pastoring, and then what would be some of the biggest differences?
That's good.
Like if you adjust from one job to the next, what
translated well?
Yeah.
Being able to deal with death.
Yeah.
Like
And hard stuff.
and hard stuff. Like I was there as a police officer, you're there on the worst days of most people's lives. Like you don't call the police unless you really need them, most people. And as a pastor, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
The people's worst times, they're like, they call you. And like I actually had the opportunity over Christmas. I mean, it was a tragedy, but I got to go to the hospital with people as they were grieving the loss of a son-in-law. And for me going there, it didn't even feel abnormal. Right. Like I felt the weight of it. I wanted to be there to help and support them, but it wasn't something that was new to me.
Yeah.
Like it's a journey I've done just in a different role many times.
It's it makes you appreciate our like law enforcement and first responders all the more because they are there on all the worst days. At least within pastoral ministry, we get a lot of the bad days. We also get to do the best days too,
we do,
right? Like we get the weddings, graduations, dedications, baptisms. Like we get kind of the
and you
highs and the
celebrate
lows.
people's stories and what God's doing in their lives. As a police officer, you're there for the worst day of their
That's
lives,
pretty
and you
much-
never see them again.
Yeah, that's it.
That's all. But that's what you do every day. You're just there for the worst of people's lives.
Yeah.
Day in, day out. No,
Respect to those
very,
guys.
very little positivity.
What was it? What's some of the big adjustments like?
Hey, there's one other thing that is so similar. It's like the weight and pressure.
Yeah.
So like when you're in charge of people's lives and saving people's lives as a police officer, there's like a huge weight. As a detachment commander, like the weight is what actually like crushed me. And as a pastor, that weight's very similar.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's spiritual health versus physical health for the most part, but the weight is still very similar. And so it wasn't something new to me. I often think about like people coming into their first church as a pastor. I'm like, man, the weight.
Buckle up.
Yeah, exactly. It's a huge adjustment.
Well, and there's something to be said too, like maybe the weight you feel in like the law enforcement role would be a lot more acute and in your face.
Yep.
But there's just this general drone of weight of responsibility for people, and then you start panning that out through eternity. You're just like,
Yep.
whoa, you know, like the things I'm doing and not doing have eternal consequence.
Yep.
In people's lives, and it can be very crushing.
There's something you said, I think in our last episode, Brent, when we were talking about the stewardship of our lives and our gifting and our ministry, and you talked about how, ultimately God is responsible to steward Brent Ingersoll's life. And I do think when it comes to that weight of pastoral ministry, like you should take it seriously. You should be aware of it, but there's also a point where you just have to go like, God, I can't carry trying to understand every detail of all your plan and live it out perfect. Like you're just gonna have to tell me what to do every day and I'll do it, and trust that he's kind of coordinating it, because it is like to have a spiritual burden for a community, let alone the church, the people in the church you lead, but the community in general. Like that's a heavy thing, and it's good to have some, but there's a point I think where you cross a line of as if to say like, if I do everything right, all these people will go to heaven, and if I don't, like that,
it's
you just
not
gotta
on
go
you.
like, no, Lord, you're the king. I'm the
like
servant.
the stakes couldn't be higher, but they're not all on you.
Totally. It's all on him.
It is
and that burden, like for St. Stephen, is something I've felt from the beginning.
wow.
And and it's heavy.
Yeah.
But it's also beautiful.
One of the things I've loved in our conversations, Pete, is the way that God set you up to know that community so well before you started planting a church there and pastoring there through your, like, you knew every corner of it through your policing work. I think that's so cool, the way God in his providence took you to the place you needed to be. Gave you a deep insight into that community, all kinds of relational connections and stuff, and then just kind of like flipped that switch and said, all right, now here's...
It's not an easily reproduced model, but if you could, it's the best.
So shout out to any
yeah.
pastors out there looking to launch a site. If you can find a RCMP officer who's in charge of policing who deeply loves Jesus.
Just maybe to put a bow on the conversation though, like what would you say to the one who they're maybe wrestling through surrendering their lives to Jesus more fully out of fear that maybe I have to give up this or give up that, and it's just they're holding back on that out of some sense of, I guess, fear, really. Like, what would you say to encourage them on the other side of? And I do want to just commend you and like clarify for people the level of risk and sacrifice for you and Sean at the step from the RCMP when you did to go into this. I mean, I had high trust in you anyway, but like one of the reasons, I know you're in it, like because of the call of God and a deep conviction, is because you sacrificed to, like, it cost you something to go do this. And sometimes we can get sticker shock on the cost where we're like, this is just going to only cost me.
Yep.
Like what's the promise? I mean, being on the other side of that.
Yeah.
Not that you're not in your own battles and stuff like that still, but what maybe it's just to testify to the goodness of God on the other side of that. Yes.
I mean, first I would just say he's always faithful. Yeah. Like in the greater the risk, I just feel like the greater the reward.
Yeah.
And the areas that people would say, man, that was some risk. Like, I mean, pastors don't get paid as much as a police officer.
Yeah.
And I was in charge of
life,
right.
That.
And so there was but on the other side, we haven't even really noticed a financial change in our lives. Like there's just been different ways that God has blessed us in that area. And I would say this too, like they talk about like pension and whatnot. Like people are like, oh, you gave up your pension. I did, but I got a payout and it goes into some investment that I'll get when I'm 65, and the stock market's done pretty good. Yeah. So like it actually God has taken care of it. And the benefit on the other side too, for my family, it's wild.
Yeah.
And like, it's so worth it. Like my oldest daughter, Maya, really remembers me being a police officer. Yeah. And we were driving the other day, I was taking her to the gym and, cause she wanted to come work out with me, and we were working out. It was at the RCMP detachment. And I said, Maya, would you want Dad to be a police officer again? And she just looked at me and she's like, no, cause I never got to see you.
Wow.
And she's like,
jeepers.
And so, I mean, your kids actually come to work with you a lot as a pastor. Yeah. Like my girls, they come to obviously Sunday morning service, but they also they come to every renewal night. They come to every worship night. Yeah. They even come to prayer meetings with me, and they want to. Wow. As a police officer, I couldn't take my kids anywhere. So they couldn't be part of it.
I would say probably the principle I would isolate in all that would be, and this would be for anybody, not necessarily called to ministry, but everybody's, every believer's called of God.
Yeah.
And I would say if you're in the pocket with the Lord's will, there's probably going to be some big burdens.
Yep.
But with big burdens, there are also big blessings. Yeah. You tend to not be able to experience one without the other. And so if maybe someone's listening that there's like a hurdle of obedience that you're having trouble getting over, like just don't underestimate God's ability to bless you in ways that you didn't think possible.
Yeah.
I think
God will call you to sacrifice, but he will not, I don't think, call you to, careful how I say this, but like ultimate detriment.
Yeah.
Right?
You're not going to lose in the equation.
Yeah. Even if you're martyred.
Yeah.
Like in the grand scheme of things, you win.
Yeah. Big time.
Right. But I think so often, he came to give us life and life more abundantly. And so at the end of the day, what Jesus say about anyone who sacrifices whatever house or land or brothers or
will
sisters?
Not fail to receive 100 times whatever it's like, I will outbless you in the end.
Totally.
Like, you will not win this game.
Absolutely. And I would say even before God opened the door for me to step into ministry, one of the things that I worked through and like he worked on me through was just like learning to give my yes without knowing the question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just being willing to say, Lord, your will, not mine, and actually mean it.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to pray that, but it's actually hard to mean that.
Can I say yes without having to know why?
Yeah.
Well, I think we set ourselves up for disappointment when we don't give that kind of yes, because you never actually do know what you're saying yes to.
Yep.
Like when you didn't know what it meant to be a
You had ideas, but
lead
there's-
pastor
yeah.
of, like, you know what I mean? Like you knew what the job title was and the broad stroke, but I mean, I'm sure you've had many days in the last several years where you're going like, I did not realize this was part of this, right? Or 100%. I had no idea this would be. So it's like, don't, you know, people like you can make up a plan and then think that's what you're agreeing to and be disappointed, or you can just trust that God's got a good plan.
Yep.
And say yes and go with it.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Love it. Well, let's we'll have to have you back. There's a lot more we can talk about. We didn't even get into like some of the, I wanted to ask some fun stories and weird stuff that happened in your RCMP life, and like,
Yeah. And even some of the like the PTSD journey, because it really happened in St. Stephen's.
Yeah.
We can talk that another time.
but for today, we need to close this off with the Mountainous Top 4.
All right, so today's Mountainous Top 4, I'm here with a couple of manly men who love the wilderness and the outdoors. And so I thought I would ask, what are your guys' 4 favorite things to do in the woods?
All right.
When you're out in the woods, what do you like to do in the woods?
In the woods. In the woods. You want to go first?
Sure. For the number one,
I could answer yours, but you go
Yeah,
ahead.
I know. Like, honestly, can we do a top 10 list? No. But I would say, like, probably my favorite thing is being out there with my family, like having a bonfire in the middle of the woods. And my girls love being out there and, like, just watching their imaginations go wild. They build, like, these forts, and Sean and I just kind of sit around and chat. Like, there's just something peaceful about it.
It's beautiful.
No distractions. Hunting and fishing, I'm putting them as one.
Sure.
Together. Yeah. But
I mean, do you fish in the woods?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's one of mine. And I'll clarify.
favorites, like fishing in the woods, to me is like
The best.
being in Doketown, going 10 kilometers back in the woods
Yeah.
on dirt roads that no one even know are there, and walking down a stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then
Like
you're in
it
a
is.
stream, not the woods.
Yeah, but sometimes you can get in fully tree-covered streams.
Oh yeah.
No, I've been in some brooks like that.
Yeah. And it's beautiful.
Oh, yeah. It's the best.
And then hunting, like I mean, I love deer hunting and I love just being out in the woods.
Yeah.
I would say something that's newer in my life, just the last few years, is being out just with my chainsaw and cutting down
Cotton
trees.
wood, baby.
Yeah, I've cut. I think I'm at 34 cord so
you
far
go.
in the last 12 months.
Do you like to split with just an axe too?
Just an axe.
Oh, so
I got no
cathartic.
splitter. Yeah.
Out
So
there
manly.
like
love
Captain
it.
America.
Shirt off, but with the over or the suspender straps, like the
Yeah,
old.
Man,
Yeah.
I do. I love it. It and like having that much power in your hands too also makes you like focus on it and shut
Yeah.
off your brain.
Yep.
So for me, my brain shuts off.
You're just doing that.
I'm just doing
Yeah,
that, and it's
yeah.
a beautiful thing.
That's what I always say about turning wood. Like it's dangerous enough that you're focused, but not so much that it stresses you out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I have cut my pants a couple times. Haven't got my leg yet. But Shauna loves that.
Do you have proper chainsaw pants?
No,
Oh, you
probably
get some of
should.
those,
Yeah.
I have them. I just haven't worn them. Well, it's kind of like, do you remember you asked me one time for like the harnesses for a tree stand?
Yeah,
And I
'cause you
brought you,
never wear
two.
them?
'Cause I brought you two that were still
Yeah.
in the bag. I was like, they came with the stand, but I've never opened the bag. It's just not how I roll.
Oh man.
And the fourth one I would say is like, man, I just enjoy praying in the woods. Not to over spiritualize it, but there
Yeah.
is something special about being in nature and just spending time with the Lord. Like it is where I feel closest to God.
Yep.
So
Beautiful.
those
I
are
would
my
agree
top
with
four.
that.
Beautiful.
So I'll jump off that. Walking my dog in the woods, talking to God. Like I love that. I do that a lot. So there's little patches of woods around Quispamsis that I tend to walk him through, and so that's a big one. Hunting in a tree. Like I do like just being up in a tree and just happen to sit there in the quiet. And if it's not that cold, and you just can be there for 5 hours and tune out the world. I love that. Brook trout fishing up a stream. So like you put on, you don't even have waders on. Sometimes you do it in Crocs, right? Like you just make your way deep back into the woods, just fishing little brook trout. I love that. And then this is a throwback to my childhood. We're going building forts and playing war.
Oh, there you go.
You ever play war?
Oh yeah.
I got
that's
you.
all I did as a
you
kid, man.
missed. You're holding sticks and
Yeah.
you're popping around trees. So
That was my earliest woodworking, was making guns out of wood.
definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man. I've got quite the collection. I got bazookas, everything.
Oh yeah, we had a whole system of there were the destroyers. There was the destroyer 1 and the destroyer 2, and they're just ridiculous, like harnessed into them.
Someone always ruined it though by pretending they didn't get hit.
Yes. No, you missed me. No, dude, we're pretending, and I totally pretended I hit you. Yeah. I would say my top 4 things to do in the woods. I love looking for wood that I can use for woodworking, for
like
usable
there's a
wood.
hunting component.
Yeah, it's like a little more gatherer, but yeah. I love to just watch animals. I love birds,
Wildlife
squirrels, whatever else. Yeah, one of the things that we've loved about, I mean, we don't live in the woods. Well, we do. Our house is surrounded by woods, but we're right in the middle of a neighborhood. But so many animals to watch. Or our cottage at Beulah, there's some woods out behind that. I love watching that. If I go I'm always looking for where's the little creatures. This is a throwback to my childhood, although I did it only a few months ago, but it's because I think the reason I like it is because I have warm, fuzzy memories from visiting my grandparents as a kid, eating crab apples.
Ew.
Walking through the woods, you find a crab apple tree, just take a few big bites of that bitter, sour. Oh, I love it. It's like nature's sour candy, right?
My girls do it.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
We used to, when I was a kid, we'd sharpen a stick and you'd stick the
throw
crab
them at
apple on
each
and
other.
whip them at each other.
Absolutely.
But if it was a good one, I'd catch it and eat it.
That's when our game of war evolved from imagination.
There
to
you go. No
actual
pretending you didn't
ammo.
get hit that day.
Throwing apples at each other.
I like crab apples. I think they're good. And then number 4, and I do think this is my favorite, taking a leak.
You know what?
There's just something great about peeing in the great outdoors.
Yeah.
Yep.
I will say too, in the right situation, number 2 is not so bad either.
Oh, dude, no, I need home court advantage to enjoy a number 2.
I've had some emergency situations.
Yeah.
If it's that dire, that you're in the woods that you got to go.
Oh, I mean, if you got
the level of relief afterwards is
you just do the
through the roof.
the old farmer
You're just
squat.
I'm so glad I did that.
It's funny. Like my girls, as soon as we get to the woods, they're like, "Dad, I gotta go." Like, they love it.
Yeah.
they love go
great.
squatting in the woods.
Yeah, for sure.
Bring wet wipes with you.
Lord love.
Well played. Well, gentlemen, this has been fun. To the dozens, thanks for joining us, and we will be back, and we'll have you again, Pete. This has been fun.
Very good.
That's good.
Oh.